Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. I am really honored by Al-Huda Foundation and Mr. Zubair Mughal and Mr. Gupta for giving me this opportunity to speak to you in Somaliland for your conference on microfinance. I still feel since the conference is on Islamic aspects of microfinance, I would like to really talk today the fundamentals concept of the Islamic finance. I think this is from where it started and what really it means for this. So let's proceed. Now I go to the slide 2. Okay, Islamic banking, it's the first question we should ask ourselves, and we are asking is Islamic banking, is it about Islam or is it about banking? Well, actually, it has to be both. So, when we talk of the man-to-man financial transaction or faith-to-faith financial transaction, answers are quite clear. Islamic banking is both. It's about banking and it's about Islam. And second is the philosophy on which the foundation of Islamic banking are built and back office. Front office, it doesn't show the religion. It should just show and has to show the just banking principles and banking finance. At the back office, the way the financial transactions are structured are based on the Sharia principles or Sharia compliance principles. So this is, I think, we need to really understand that at the front office, it is about banking, and at the back office, it ensures that all the transaction which is being presented and which is being executed has a compliance with the Islamic principles of finance. Next slide 3. So actually the Islamic banking, it is normal money banking, lending and all that. They are not really concerned for which purpose the money is being lent. They say, okay, I give you the money and you give me after a certain period of time with that much of profit or that much of interest. So I'm not concerned in conventional banking, what will be the asset, what's the main purpose. Yes, transaction goes there, but it's not really in there. It shows that the borrowed money have an asset creation. One can borrow for consumption purposes and still it's called be conventional banking, that you have to pay back principal plus interest. And lenders are not concerned in conventional banking from where the excess money has come. For example, if I give in conventional banking 100 and I would like to have after 1 year 110, the conventional banking is not bothered whether you made money, whether you did some banking transaction, whether you did a business transaction or you were doing some gambling. It's all, they are not bothered. They say, I give you 100 and you give me back after a period of time 110, regardless whether there was an asset creation and value addition. So that's where the conventional banking or regular money lending is all about. Next slide. Now, the conventional banking is not banking, it's just merely the money lending. While Islamic banking is not Islamic unless and until it is complies with the principle of Islam, and which is why called by Islamic banking called the prudent banking, meaning the fundamental principle from where the excess money is coming has to be really ensured in Islamic banking. Next slide. The conventional banking has origin in just the money lending concept. So as I said, money was taken as a medium of change. Conventional banking is foundation in money lending. In the good old days, the goldsmith shop, people would go to the goldsmith shop, give their gold and take the money from the goldsmith, and after they take the money, they use it, and after that use, the goldsmith is not bothered, he's got a security of and he is not really bothered. You take the money and after a certain period of time you have to give the whatever the principal plus interest value is. So over the years, these papers, this is where the conventional banking started, about 600 or 700 years before. But this is where then people would deposit, let's say, 10 tolas or 100 grams of gold, and they will take money according to the value of the gold. But then the bankers thought that, you see, we can give more than the security, because the security is, everything is not lost in a transaction. So if I take gold worth, let's say $100, I can give $150, because when my loss goes up to 100, I can close the transaction. So receipts were, the people would go and deposit the gold. Goldsmith would get some, hey, I give you a receipt of $10, and then those receipts were being used as issued by the goldsmith, that I have with him, the goldsmith, the gold worth $10 or $100, and he can use those slips as money. So that way the papers issued by the goldsmith were basically used as the currency, backed by the power of the gold which the user has deposited with the goldsmith. And over a period of time, as I said, that the default was not always full, so they would say that deposit $100 worth of gold, and they can even take $150. And this is the way this money in circulation increased. This led to the processing of money lending and the profession of money lending through the goldsmith to the institution, and over a longer period of time, in the institutions of the banking started. And that's why you see in the good old days, the central banks of the country would have gold reserves when they would print money, and money goes for circulation. The back of that money, which is in the market, was being circulated as paper, was the gold. But over a period of time, the other assets were being also used. So evolution of Islamic banking is, that it's very simple. Islam in Quran says that halallahu al-bay' wa harrama al-riba. The trade is permissible, and this I'll explain you later as well. Trade is permissible, but anything which is over a less loss of money or gain of money which is not related to the asset backing the trade would be haram, which is not permissible. And what is used to happen is the people would give to caravans of trade were moving from one place to another. They will buy something from one place and go and some other place they will sell the money. So mobilization of trade, and this is where let's say there are 10 camels or 10 caravans or 10, in modern day you can say containers, in those days you can say 10 camels loaded with the trading. And so the trader who was there, who is mudarib, I would give him my part of money, okay, in your trade, this is my share of money. Some other people, he will buy stuff from one place as a mudarib and manager, and then he would really go to some other place and sell those assets, and any addition or reduction in the value of those goods would be the profit and the loss. So managers would provide the management, whoever the managers were, who would take the caravans of gold and some assets, while the financiers will be providing the money for buying the assets. So this was the way in trading and the value addition or reduction in the business started. So this was good old days. This was the way it is. Not all the 10 camels or 20 camels caravan would be owned by one person. There will be different people who will be contributing some money to those caravans loaded with the stuff. So full information disclosure is also a responsibility, that the buyer would be honest and say that who was the trader, that I have this worth of gold, this worth of assets on my camels, and I'll go to the other place. And this was, you see, the trade was very clear, that I buy stuff from one place, either store it in one point and sell it after a certain period of time, which is, I say this is the wheat season or the crop, some rice season, I buy that today and sell it after 3-4 months. So this is mean time. My assets in the godowns and my storages are traveling in time. Or maybe I take from one place in one city and sell it to the other. In both cases, we expect that the value of those underlying assets is there. But if there are no assets, and the trader doesn't really honestly tells the value of the assets, that means it will be a deception, which Islam says gharar, meaning if whatever is the profit, he has to be based on the value of the assets. He has to be very honest in the transaction, and both parties have to share the risk. Why? Because when I take the stuff from one place and go and sell the stuff to another place, I expect that the money will be, the value of the goods will be either high or low. And that means either high, that means profit, or low means loss. So money lending has simple objective, as I said, make the money by selling or lending money. Banking aims to manage the financial resources within the economy by efficiency, equitability, and ethically is doing those transactions. So money lending uses interest-based contracts. I take the money, I'll buy whatever it is, I'll do whatever it is, but after a certain period of time, I will give you back. You are not fully insured whether I will be doing some trade or I'll be doing some gambling. The underlying value addition through the assets is not really ensured through the process. So the trade-based contracts have to be there when it's proper. We ensure that this is the trade, this is the underlying goods, and asset-backed value addition will be there. When I said this makes it Islamic. In money lending, routine conventional money lending, they are not bothered which asset is there underlying, whether it will be high value or low value. People make very conscious decision that this is the trade, these are the goods, this is the place from one place to another. So they expect that the value addition will be there. So this is where the Islamic banking. So conventional versus Islamic, said that conventional banking relies on one basic contract, that is a promissory note, which is money lending instrument. Everything else is an add-on onto this. In Islamic banking has two basic contracts ranging from debt to equity. It provides a better fit between the financial needs and financial solution. Why I'm saying it, debt and equity. For example, I can provide to the trader, okay, this is my money. If there will be a profit, I'll be sharing this much profit, and if there will be a loss, you will be sharing the loss first, and then remaining loss will be mine because you are the manager. That's what the Islamic banking was all about. This is the Quran which says Halallahu al-bay' wa harrama al-riba. So Islam says bay means trade or addition or reduction in value of money through the trade is halal, and anything addition or reduction of money which is not asset backed, which is not trade backed, which is not value addition will be haram. So the issue is that should we define bay or should we define riba? So Islam says Halallahu al-bay' wa harrama al-riba, meaning that what is halal is bay. So let's define the fundamental principles of trade and addition or reduction in the value of those underlying assets. So that if those fundamental principles of trade are being complied with, reduction or increase in the value of assets which started from point A to the point B will be the profit. And the profit is defined through the trade. And if something doesn't really comply with those principles of the trade, it will be riba. Meaning if there's a gambling or just if someone has taken money for consumption, he was sick, and I say, okay, you were sick, I gave you $100, now after 6 months you gave me $110. No, that is not Islamic principle, because there was no asset underlying, there is no trade transaction, bay was not there. So that will be a consumption loan, not a production loan. So consumption loan, you can help him out, you can take whatever it is, but it is not a production loan, meaning underlying assets were there, the man was using for his whatever needs for consumption purposes, for sickness and all that. Next is interest-based economy versus evolution of banking. So this is what we really say that, okay, interest-based economy, trade, personal consumption, wealth accumulation, and all of those are the events we have been knowing that because the economy was not bothered that the money in circulation is being used for the asset creation, value addition, but it was being used for any consumption, even for the non-value addition purposes. That's why even the governments, when they borrow money and use that public money for non-assets, no value addition in the assets, they are ultimately bothering the economy with interest, because actually the assets for which the money which was borrowed was not used for the asset but for the consumption purposes. Islamic principles say trade-based economy. It has to be wealth creation through the asset. Surplus reduction has to be there in the valuation asset, and then Islam ensures the economic justice and also shares the risk. Banking concept, the concept interest-based, and Islamic is the trade-based. Next is principles of Islamic finance. As we said, I defined the bay. So what I said is that once you define the bay and the value addition during the bay means trade will be, if it complies all the principles of the bay, it will be halal. And if it's not any reduction or increase in the value being demanded by the lender, which was not actually value addition assets based on the assets on the trade and all that, it will be riba. So to define is that we define the trade, and we all understand that in trade two things happen. Next slide. So we are now on saying that how do we define interest, riba. I think we have to understand that what Allah has said in Quran, halallahu al-bay' wa harrama al-riba. So we practically need not to define riba. We have to define any addition or reduction in the value of money based on the reduction or addition in the value of underlying assets is what is we call the profit, that is the bay to trade. And trade is done for value addition. May be lost there. That's why the Islamic banking says you have to be mentally prepared for a loss as well. Because so when we're saying the trade, it's not only the goods and services. It could be goods, it could be services. For example, one can provide services and underlying assets, one can provide goods and trading. So let's say, I think no need to define riba, excess of money in a financial transaction which does not qualify on parameters of bay is riba. So riba will be defined once the parameters or underlying principles of the bay and addition and value of the money are not based on the trade principles, meaning value, underlying assets, value, time and space, or services, which has, if I do some service to a someone person where the value of the asset has gone increased. For example, you have cement and block and you make the wall. That means my services have added the value into the basic raw material and made the wall. So that's why it could be goods or it could be provision of services. So this is what I say, according to saying the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, any profit excess of money which one fails to understand the basis of it is riba. And when the trade transaction is not even clear, when I don't tell the people how took the money and what did I use, or I try to do some meaning, some bad intention, that will be called gharar, meaning cheating. Now this is again a group of traders financial. What really happening is the traders start from one pooling of money at one place and create some assets, or store in one place, meaning travel in time, and after 6 months we sell it, or travel in space, meaning from one city to another, and money gets converted into again point A, I give the money, we buy the assets. Assets travel in time or space, go to the point B, either in time or in space, and then we sell those assets, the money is recovered. So for the money at the point A, the physical asset at point A have been the same value as the money went into its creation of these assets, unless subsequent value addition is done by some managers. So what I mean to say is the point A, value of the assets, in the point B, they will be always different. That's the whole concept all about. Manage of these physical assets, like this is what say mudarib. I gave money, pool of money, but we gave it to a person who is doing the trade or services and all that. So travel in time, travel in space, change in physical asset. For example, I give some raw material, and the manufacturer converts that raw material into some goods and services, meaning the physical or chemical shape of those assets is changed. With the raw sand gets into the bricks and blocks and all that, meaning value addition. So there where the services have been provided. So this will, again, value addition will be there. So asset at point B are sold and get converted into the money, and the difference between point A and point B. That's what we say. The asset at point A are supposed to have value different than its point B, and they have to have value different than it was point B. That's the whole purpose of doing trade. Higher meaning profit, or lower mean losses. That's why we have to be mentally very prepared that we have to have either profit or a loss. Normally 99.9% we do this whole thing with an expectation of profit, but we should be very clear that there could be a possibility of the loss. That's why I say this is called gross profit, which is after reduction of all. You see, what we share is that it's not that just value. Services have gone, traders have, transport has been with the gross profit, which after deduction of all operational expenses and management expenses give the net profit to be shared between the financier and the manager. Managers are called, in Islamic sense, mudarib. The whole transaction is called, because money providers are financiers, but the manager is the manager, which in Islamic sense we call mudarib, and the transaction is called mudariba. So underlying parameters of the trade, it has to be asset backed. Islamic, where we call it the the trade or the bad, underlying principle is asset backing, has to be asset. Process of value addition has to be either I take the wood and make the chair, take the wood and make the table, or take the goods at point A and sell at point B, or take the goods at point A and sell after 6 months at point B. So that's where there has to be value addition. Information disclosure. This is meaning in the whole transaction I have to be very, very honest and clear. The meaning, the mudarib, who is the manager, and has to be very honest and clear that what I'm going to do and how I'm going to allocate the cost and how I'm going to allocate the profit and then distribute the profit. Risk sharing has to be there, meaning information disclosure has to be perfect. Any improper information disclosure means gharar. And then risk sharing, that we have to understand that if there be loss, first loss will be of the mudarib or the manager, but then the loss will be of the people who contribute the money. That's why the mudarib has to take the first loss. That's why, and then whatever is remaining loss has to be shared by all. This is what the whole thing is all about. Why otherwise the mudarib will say, okay, I don't care, because everybody will share the loss. Yes, first I am the manager, I'll take the higher profit, share of the profit, but if there's a loss, I will be taking the larger share of the loss as well. Now, guiding parameters. As we said, asset back, value addition, proper information disclosure, risk sharing, and share the error, and prudent banking. So, if it's all transaction, I gave the money, transaction was there, asset back, and then it's called prudent. And it's basically then Islamic banking is the prudent banking. That's why I always say that, you see, just a moment. So next is that Islamic principles of finance are unique in nature, the only system which distinguishes between the consumption loan versus the production. Islam is the only religion where the whole financial transaction differentiate between consumption loan and production loan. Conventional banking doesn't care if I give money to someone who was sick, or if I give money for his bad days, he is not doing trade, he is doing his bad days, karde hasana, what I call it. So no business transaction is being made. So this means consumption loans. And production loan is when I give the money, he makes some profit out of money, the intention is to make profit out of money, that is called production loans. If the borrower could pay principal, fine, al-adl, and else lender may forgive a part of the whole, this is called, when we say consumption loan. If he has to, if he wants to say give something, that's perfect. But al-adl is that he didn't make any money, so how can I charge money? Consumption loans to support illness, marriage, education, and all those kind of things which are not really making any value addition. This is what I said, that do not always look for the visible differences. As we said, sometimes the two transactions and people say, oh, this is also conventional banking, Islamic banking is also like conventional banking. No. If the fundamental principles of Islamic finance have been complied with, as I have explained earlier, then it is a halal, according to the principle of halal al-bay', and that's permissible. You may not be seeing any difference, but if the fundamental principles are there, then that's why I always say that do not you try to understand and see, look for, insist, show me. No, as long as the transaction is being, Sharia scholars say it is halal according to principles of halal, is fine. For example, KFC Kentucky in UK or in America and in Karachi, there's no difference. It has to taste the same, but one is halal, one is not halal for us, for the Muslims. Meaning, I have underlying is that the chicken used for KFC in Karachi or in some Muslim world is slaughtered based on Islamic principles of halal. So while you take it on the table, there's no difference. So what I mean to say is, still one KFC is halal, and that's why you see even in the United States and where the KFCs have sometimes heard that our chicken KFC is halal food, meaning underlying. We don't see the chicken or the meat coming from where the values are, but they say we have honored the principles. So this is why you say sometimes people start insisting, show me the difference. No, let the Sharia scholar's job is, a transaction has been declared, they have seen the transaction, and they make the principles of Islamic finance. And if the Sharia audit says this, all the banking and transaction in the, whether it's a microfinance bank or main conventional bank, are being done according to those Sharia guidance and Sharia audit. Every Islamic institution have a Sharia audit, meaning some Sharia scholars look at the transaction and they structure the transaction according to Islamic principles. But whether the bank really, when executing the transaction, followed Islamic principles or not, according to what the Sharia scholars have cleared, that's what called the Sharia audit. So internally the Sharia audit in any financial institution, whether it's a conventional bank or a microfinance bank or whatever, they have to be a Sharia internal audit. Next. That's why I always say improper Islamic transaction really very strongly discouraged, because basically gharar is where you try to deceive, not proper information disclosure, and quietly one can say you are trying to cheat or deceive. So this is called gharar. Bay or al-gharar, the sale of the probable items which existence or characteristics are not certain. And all these I have very clearly explained, so don't have to be explained. The value, the invalidate a contract, gharar must affect the principal components of the contract. That meaning if you really are not really, maybe cheating in the price, cheating in the object of sale, cheating in the way you are doing, so they really make the Islamic artificial value addition. It will also make this transaction gharar. It has to be genuine on-ground situation. You see, Islam permits both the ways, Islamic banking, debt-based and equity-based. I can go and say, okay, I give you money and give me this return. But the promise is that my money goes to an asset creation, value addition, as I have explained earlier. But I am not really, if the profit is more than, let's say I say 10%, profit is more than 10%, you are entitled to. I will take only 10%. If profit is less than 10%, you will give me from your share of profit to me first estimate, meaning first loss the mudarib or the manager will take, and this is the way the transaction goes, and that way Islamic principles are murabaha and ijara leasing. Murabaha and mudarba I have explained already, and murabaha is cost plus transactions, and mudarba is where they give the money and management is done, where the mudarba is also sometimes doing the murabaha as well. And ijara is leasing, mostly like car leasing and all that, which give the property on rent, and at the end of the lease terminal value, the asset goes back to this. This is permissible in Islam because there is a usance value of an asset. So if I take a car and I pay the lease, we use the value from one place to another, and assets over a period of time depreciates and all that, so losing an asset value. So these are the debt-based transactions where I go ahead and agree on a fixed return. Provided there is a profit, then the mudarib will be giving me my agreed share first. If the profit was actually more, he will keep the higher part. If the profit was less, he will make my 10% from his share of profit. An equity base is financial where it's pure musharaka, where whatever the reality goes, be if actually profit, whatever the profit is shared, loss, whatever the profit. This is equity based and debt based. Now I would like to go into the next quite a few slides are, know that there was a subprime crisis of 2007-8 which shook the world. Why? Because this is, next slide will show that the derivatives, those transactions were being done based on the derivatives, meaning paper-backed transaction. The global financial crisis of 2000 is the global, which had totally shattered the countries. Even the US was one of the major losers. But if the Islamic fundamental principles would have been observed, there would have been no global financial crisis. Why? Because the money in circulation, which were being instruments were being issued, were having the total backing of the assets, no derivatives. Financing options, financing mortgage, automobile, and all that. This I'm not going to have to do details of this in the interest of time in the conference. But you can see why the actual 2008, 6, 7 or 8 subprime crisis happened, that they issued the paper on asset base. But that was the first paper issued. When there were more paper were being issued, and then not from the country, those papers were being issued based on the papers, what we call the derivatives. So actually, sometimes, in 2007-8, when the subprime crisis, the original asset, the original paper was issued, backed on the asset was, let's say, country in London or somewhere, and the transactions were being made in Singapore or some other part of the world, and 10 times, 50 times, 100 times more than the original value of the asset. Everything was normal. But when you really, for X reason, you go back and say, no, I want to close the transaction, where is the asset? And then you say, when they started going back, that papers based on the asset were $100, while the asset original was $10, and the derivatives papers based on those paper and then paper. So that's why Islam doesn't permit these kind of derivative transaction where any transaction is based on the asset, on the paper, not really fully backed by the asset. The first transaction is there, but then if you issue multiple pairs, this is a whole next few slides. Sorry for that. We'll be explaining to you. So I am not going to explain, but those who are interested, they can see this presentation will be available and see what were the intricacies. But 2007, 2008 crisis showed the entire world that the Islamic principles of finance, if we follow, these subprime crises will not happen, because no paper which is not fully backed by the asset is not permissible. No addition or reduction in value of money which is not fully backed by the addition or reduction in the value of underlying asset, it's not permissible. So you have to ensure addition, reduction being shared is based on the asset. So that's what the subprime, where the derivatives market made it phenomenal. But this is what really, for X reason, the market comes and goes, you go back, they discovered the original asset was 10 and it was really, because of multiple trades, was 100. So I'm really grateful. I would like to close here. Mr. Zubair Mughal, Al-Huda and Mr. Gupta for inviting me. I would have loved to be present, but because of my other engagements, I could not, so I tried to give you a presentation through my digital platform. And God bless you, but maybe one of these days God would like me to visit your country. And I wish you all and have the best conference. Thank you very much.